Today is a lovely warm day with a northwesterly wind blowing. And we have decided we are going to be down here in the left wing. We have Eagle behind the camera today. And my name is Jax, I'm going to be your naturalist. And we have decided that we're going to spend some time in the left wing seeing what this area holds. So we'll start off with our penguins and also have a look at the crazy eights who are also about on the seashore today. We are a live show. And what we would love to do is we would love to send you over to our website so that you can chat to us on the show. So to do that, you can either use the QR code on your screen, you can scan that with your phone if you're watching on a TV, or you could also register on our website. And what you would do is you would just pop onto wildearth.tv/questions, and you can register, you can ask us your questions, send us your stories, and also send us any comments that you have about the show. So yesterday we spoke a little bit about an unanswered question about feathers and why most seabirds have black and white feathers. And I did get to see Moonbeam Smith said, but that doesn't account for so many other birds and their colours and the way that they live. And so I think we're going to chat just a bit more about why seabirds are black and white. I managed to actually scrape up some more information that might be quite interesting. So we'll chat a little bit about bird coloration. But it feels like a summer day down here at Penguin Beach. We've got berg wind conditions. It's not a very strong wind that's blowing just yet, although it's supposed to pick up. Let's go have a look at the weather forecast and see if it reflects what we're feeling down here on the beach. So I think we're going to start off by having a look at the crazy eights and trying to spot Mark and Cleo in and amongst their kids. I see one of our favourite geese parents or goose parents. I think the other might be laying down, and there's no enemies in the left wing today. So it looks like they're just having a calm time and having a nap on the beach. And I think that we are in the midst of the Egyptian geese breeding season, so they can breed all throughout the year, but I think it's peaking at the moment because the geese are particularly agitated with one another. As soon as a goose flies over, all the other geese seem to get quite upset. So it's nice to be able to see a moment of peace where all the geese are happy and relaxed. A couple of the crazy eights are sitting on the rocks, so they are not with their parents. They're hanging out fairly far away. And speaking of hanging out, we've got some exciting stuff happening at WildEarth this week. There seems to be a lot going on, and Steve is going to be hanging out with the contestants of the Safari Guide of the Year, as well as the judges.
Here at WildEarth, we want you to learn as much about the wild as possible. Sadly, we can't answer all the questions on Safari Live, so we've come up with a new way to solve the problem.
My name is Liam Burrow, and AMA stands for Ask Me Anything. And you can do exactly that on Wednesday, the 29th of June, after the Sunset Safari. So have your questions ready and hope to see you there.
WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
And coming up in first place and officially named Bilo is Heart's Cub.
So we've just had an alarm call from the Egyptian geese. And Peter, it does sound like a greeting. So that call is actually the goose warning the chicks that they need to be close and that they need to be aware. We just had a dog walk past. And in nature, things like jackal would be very dangerous to young Egyptian geese. And so this mother goose is making sure that the chicks are all close to her and that they're aware that there might be a potential threat. We did have a question a while ago about jackal in the Overberg, and I haven't been able to find any real information about jackals along the coast here. Jackals will go into mountains, so in theory, there's no reason why there wouldn't be jackal around. But this area is more dominated by caracals, the lynx, which would be one of the predators that our Egyptian geese might encounter. The thing about Stony Point is that because we are protecting the penguins here, I think the geese get that added protection because they try to keep the wildcats out of the colony for the penguin nests. And it looks like everybody has settled. I think we're going to... And it looks like everybody has settled. I think we're going to move away from our geese and see what else is happening on the seashore. The penguins all look... And it looks like everybody has settled. I think we're going to move away from our geese and see what else is happening on the seashore. The penguins all look fairly relaxed. They're just sitting and enjoying the...
WildEarth have really inspired me to return to South Africa after having followed so many beautiful characters. This Ticket to Dream has given me a great opportunity to meet the WildEarth team, which I thank. They're all amazing. I love all of the characters, but I do have a particular passion for leopards. It's a dream, and as I said before, I just keep on pinching myself. Am I really here?
Here at WildEarth, we promised great monthly prizes for our explorers, and this month is no exception. If you join our club before the 10th of July, then you stand a chance to win a fabulous Safari Guide online course brought to you by Bushwise Field Guides. They specialize in accredited Safari Guide training with courses tailored for the African safari lodge industry. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer today and don't miss out on this life-changing opportunity.
It seems that the signal on the Overberg is giving us a bit of a runaround. If you ever do visit the Overberg, I highly recommend always keeping cash on you because the card machines also struggle when there's been some wind. It's all the fun of living and spending time in these very rural areas, is that you are at the nature or at the mercy of nature. And Eagle has the face of someone who has a plan. So Eagle, what do you want? What do you want to do today?
I'm glad you asked. I actually have an idea. I have a bit of a challenge for you, if you're up for it.
Okay. What would you like to do?
I want to challenge you to see how many birds you can identify on today's show.
Okay.
So let's just see how many birds you can spot, see how many of them you can ID, and then we'll see what the count is afterwards.
Okay. Are we staying here? Are we moving? We're staying in one place and seeing how many birds we can spot in one place.
Yeah, unless you really want to move it, we can move.
I think let's not move. Let's pretend this is a water hole and we're glued to the floor and see what we can find just by standing in one spot. So the first two species are easy. We've already seen them. We've got the African penguin and we've got our Egyptian geese.
Actually, let's actually throw another little dynamic in there. Let's have the viewers sort of take a bet or take a guess on what the tally is going to be at the end of the show, and then whoever gets the closest wins. And you can decide what the winner gets.
Okay, I quite like the idea. So if you want to play the game, send us a comment and you can send us your estimate of how many birds we might see. And you can do that. On the website, or you could scan the QR code. And I see another Egyptian goose. What is that? That's not a bird. That's a balloon flying there. So it looks very much like a bird, and it's the number one thing that we pick up out at sea here is balloons. So if you want to be more environmentally friendly, one of the best things you can do is make sure you dispose of balloons properly or try not to use them at all. Let's move away from that and see what other birds we can spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a round tour. So I'm going to start at the infamous Cormorant Cove and see what we can see sitting by the Cormorant Cove. Do they have to be close enough for me to get a perfect ID, Eagle?
As long as we can see what it is.
Okay. So at Cormorant Cove, I can definitely see some white-breasted cormorants. So that's species number 3 for us. And I see a kelp gull that's just landed right on the outer rock.
What's that for?
That's 4. You're in charge of the numbers here. Mona, it is wonderful to watch them fly, and later on we're going to be talking about the different colorations of birds, because there's something that keeps coming up, but to me it doesn't make sense, and I'll tell you why. In fact, let's talk about it right now and then we'll keep looking for birds later on, because we are looking at our cormorant cove, and most of our cormorant species that we have are purely black in coloration when it comes to their feathers, apart from the white-breasted cormorant. And when I was looking to answer Moonbeam Smith's question a bit better about, or answer the question of coloured feathers a bit better, one of the articles that I found had this sort of hypothesis that birds that are completely black in colour and dark in colour with their feathers are benthic feeders, and benthic, they feed at the bottom. So I thought about that, and I thought, that makes sense for the crown cormorant, the bank cormorant, perhaps even the white-breasted cormorant. But the Cape cormorant is not a benthic feeder, and the Cape cormorant feeds at depths of about 23 or so meters. And when they're feeding, when they're eating anchovy and sardine, that's certainly not the bottom of the ocean. So one of the theories for completely black coloration on a seabird is that they are bottom feeders, but I don't really believe that to be true.
Hi, I am David. I come to you live from the Mana Triangle, all the way from Kenya.
This is not a postcard. This is real sunrise in the beautiful Masai Mara.
I think Safari Guide of the Year is a great competition to be a part of.
I'm very excited today to be one of the guides that have been nominated.
It's quite a prestigious event, and it means that you are recognized.
Also looking forward to a little bit of competition.
Even just to be selected as one of the 5 finalists is an honor that I never expected, and special to be a part of it.
So we're looking at a penguin who has a bit of a limp. It's really nothing serious, but you can see that his one foot is definitely not as strong as the other. So he's hobbling out the water. I don't think I'll actually even let Gavin know, because it really doesn't look all that serious to me, but you can see he's a bit of a slow walker, and you can't see a broken foot or any sort of injury to this bird at all. He seems to just have a little limp going. But we were talking about bird feathers, and we were talking about the coloration. So I don't think that our darker colored seabirds are dark in color because they feed at the bottom, because I can think of many different diving birds like your white-chinned petrels. I think about our albatross, the darker albatross species, the sooty albatross, that are not bottom feeders. And so I wouldn't say that that is a factor. We do know that black feathers are the hardiest of feathers. And with that in mind, I actually want us to go and have a look at the bird book. So yesterday I mentioned there was a bird, the wandering albatross. And the wandering albatross is a bird that is almost completely white, and then it has black on its feathers. And it's a very good example of what I want to... a bird, the wandering albatross. And the wandering albatross is a bird that is almost completely white, and then it has black on its feathers, and it's a very good example of what I want to talk about. And what I found, which was quite incredible, is that birds that have black on the feathers at the top actually fly a lot better. So when the feathers are black at the top and light at the bottom, it reduces drag by about 20%. So the temperature of the feather can be 10 degrees hotter on the surface if the feathers are black. So this is the wandering albatross at the top. And yesterday I said that they are the largest of birds, which was wrong. They are the the bird with the biggest wingspan. And it sounds like you've just had another freeze frame, so I'm very sorry about that. I hope that we can keep going and that that's not going to keep happening. More than that, I hope it's not freezing my face in any awkward or funny positions. But we're looking at this wandering albatross, and if you have a look, the bird is almost completely white. But look at the fringes of the wing, and you'll see that those feathers are black. And the reason for that is because those black feathers are the flight feathers. They're the stronger feathers, they're the most resistant to damage. And the sub-adult has black on the top of the feathers, and that actually helps them to soar a lot better. So a lot of seabirds will have black on the top or black on the fringes, so the temperature is hotter, up to about 10 degrees hotter. And apparently that creates low pressure at the top of the wing, and that allows there to be less drag and it allows the birds to soar a lot better. So that's one of the reasons why the black coloration is featured on so many seabirds, and if they are not completely black on the wing, often the fringes of the wing would be black in color. So I found that very, very interesting. And this is the color of the wandering albatross. You'll see that your royal albatross and many of your other albatross will have similar sort of colors and patterns. You'll see that all of their wings are lined with black feathers, and that helps very much with the soaring. Most of them have black on the top of the feather and white in the rest of the body.
It's actually a very universal pattern in many birds that soar great distances.
It really is. Most of your soaring birds and many of your water birds actually have that sort of coloration. So birds that need to fly, that really need to put an effort when flying and fly long distances, would have hardy black feathers on the edge. And then you can see seabirds don't put too much effort into adding more color into their feathers.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
You can see the little egret has no black tips to its wings, but he doesn't need to fly very effectively, does he? I think this is a juvenile heartthrob gull, which we never really get to see. So species number 5 of the birds that we can count, I think I might be seeing number 6, yes. So I've got a tern, I've got a juvenile swift tern, species number 6. There's several terns coming out to play. Oh, the one's got a fish, he's got a fish, Igor, that guy over there. So just caught all their mouths, they might all have fish. No, he doesn't have a fish. A little bit far. So swift terns carry fish in their mouths when they're heading back to their home. So I don't know why that bird's flying to the west if he lives to the east if he lives to the west with his fish. And some terns, it's very interesting to me because some terns will have multiple fish that they put in their mouths, but with swift terns I only ever see them with one big fish that they'll take home with them. So I have found that rather interesting when I've observed terns. But what would be quite cool is to actually try and get a look of the underwing and see if we can see the black fringes on the wings. Billy, so this would not be the official number. I would say the most numerous that you'll see all over would be the kelp gulls, because they live along the whole of the coastline, so you'll see them everywhere. I think in terms of quantity, in terms of biomass, it's probably the Cape cormorants in their breeding season. You know, I'm thinking, I count this area as part of the Overberg sort of Greater Dyer Island ecosystem, and there we have 100,000 Cape cormorants living and breeding. So I'd say the Cape cormorants are likely to be the most numerous here. Kelp gulls are aplenty, definitely lots of kelp gulls around. White-breasted cormorants and bank cormorants and crown cormorants don't breed in quite the same numbers. And then heart-lipped gulls are also aplenty, although I would say the kelp gulls are more common than the heart-lipped gulls. Would you agree with me with what I'm saying, Igor?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything sort of that we're missing.
None of the shorebirds would really reach huge numbers.
But for me, I would definitely say kelp gulls, heart-lipped gulls, and Cape cormorants.
The Cape cormorants. I would say the Cape cormorant is supposed to be the most numerous seabird along this coast. Their numbers have taken a bit of a drop, but they are supposed to be in huge numbers and living on the islands along the coastline. And years ago, it might have actually also been African penguins, if you think about it, because there was over 1 million penguins about.
So on screen we got number 7 right now.
And
that's the little egret, and then we got number 8.
Igor was looking at the little egret, and now I think he's gone to the, I nearly called it a waxbill, not a wagtail. The Cape wagtail. Not sure why I've got waxbills on the brain. So we've got a Cape wagtail around. See if we can see any other seabirds.
Here at WildEarth, we want you to learn as much about the wild as possible. Sadly, we can't answer all the questions on Safari Live, so we've come up with a new way to solve the problem.
My name is Liam Burrow, and AMA stands for Ask Me Anything. And you can do exactly that on Wednesday, the 29th of June, after the Sunset Safari. So have your questions ready and hope to see you there.
WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So it's very interesting. We seem to have lots of swift terns who are coming around. You see all of those guys there. So the terns are coming in full force, and it looks like they are hunting. So these are all swift terns. They're the largest tern species that we see here. And all of them are juveniles, so they don't have the black on the head just yet. Dark green lover. I think it would be unlikely for a bird who doesn't use its wings to break its wing. So I'm thinking of something like an ostrich. In theory, something like an ostrich might be able to live with a broken wing. Other birds, I can't really see them getting it right. I just feel that predators would be too quick to swoop down and take them with a broken wing. So I'm not sure that they would be able to survive or heal themselves or recover. I don't think other birds would be likely to bring food and nurse another bird back to health. So I don't think so. What do you think, Igor? Do you think a bird could survive with a broken wing?
I think theoretically it could. I mean, for example, an oystercatcher or any of these wading birds, their wings aren't essential to their survival. I think their wings will help them escape predators and sticky situations, but especially in an environment like this, there aren't many predators around because we're in, Betty's Bay keeps them out. That's one of the reasons why the colony loves it so much here, is because the houses along the coast create a bit of a protective barrier from all the predators in the mountains. So I think within particular environments, certain species of bird could be able to pull it off.
Just thinking about the oyster catchers, I think that they move more than what we think they do. I think that their territory here, because they don't stay in the left wing the whole time, and so I think that they would struggle to get the food that they need, because what they would do is then they would overexploit a certain area. So I think that they would still really struggle, even if in theory they might survive for a little while. I don't think we would expect a full lifespan. And I do think eventually something is going to notice that a bird is in distress and eventually swoop down or sneak in. Something like the mongoose even could sneak in and try to take one. It's a very good question, because in theory, yes, but practically I just think birds would be taken out too quickly by other predators to really test that. It really seems that these swift terns, I'm looking at them again, they are all over the kelp forest, and they're really out in droves fishing today.
The iconic Masai Mara in Kenya is a boundless wilderness bursting with life. Every year, more than 1 million animals stream onto the plains, and this year, WildEarth will be there for Africa's great wildebeest migration. This astonishing spectacle will feature in Safari Live twice a day, allowing you to travel instantaneously to this natural wonderland. Join us in August for some migration madness. Here on WildEarth, we love it when you interact with our guides while they are live. In order to do this, you must head over to wildearth.tv/questions and submit your questions, comments, and suggestions. Simple as that. And to make it even simpler, from time to time, you will see a QR code on your screen. Open your camera phone and scan this code, and it will take you straight to where you need to be. We look forward to answering your questions on this channel.
We're still talking about bird feathers, and when it comes to feathers, there's different reasons as to why birds would have different color feathers. Moonbeam smiths, though, not that I've been able to find. So Arctic Circle had a question quite a while ago now, where we were looking for the common ancestor of the albatross and the penguins. And I haven't been able to find a flying penguin. I will go double check and I will hand it over to Byron. But I think that the penguin evolutionary tree is so, what's the right word for it? It is so unfinished. They haven't been able to piece it together in the way that they would like to. That I don't know if there is a penguin that has, that still showed the ability for flight. But I will double check that and get back to you tomorrow. And what I did find on birds and why they have different color feathers, so there's a couple of different reasons. So camouflage is one of them, to camouflage into the environment to avoid predators. Communication seems to be the most important. for many birds. And that is to communicate with other birds that they are healthy, that they're ready to breed. So that's often why birds have very bright, vibrant colors. And the more vibrant the colors are on a bird, particularly a male bird, the healthier they are, the more they'll attract females, and supposedly the better the breeding success of these brightly colored birds. The other theory is thermoregulation, so temperature control. Black feathers get a lot hotter, a lot quicker than white feathers. But then the one scientist who wrote the one article about white feathers listed all these things and said in a very scientist sort of way, he said, few examples, I'm quoting, I'm actually reading it for you because I wanted you to hear his exact words, and it was, few examples of the above are convincing enough to falsify the hypothesis that the default color of the feather is white. So they've looked into all these different angles, and with seabirds they certainly think that seabirds have kept that white default color. It might help with camouflage under the water. It doesn't really help very much with communication with other birds under the water. It's something that was something that did come up. And they had a look at lots of different diving birds, so 61 diving birds in fact, to look at this black and white coloration. And they did think that the birds that had more white on them would feed in the mid-water region. But then if I look at a lot of the other diving birds, like the Sooty shearwater, they feed at a 60-meter depth, but they'll also feed in water that's 300 meters deep. So that's, to me, still technically a mid-water dive, and they are completely dull in color. So I'm not entirely convinced on this camouflage thing. But black feathers are 9% more aerodynamic, so black at the top seems to work very well. And this is all specifically with seabirds, but when I was looking at other colors in birds and how they get those colors, all the articles that I found and all the papers that I found were just alluding to the fact that it's communication with other birds and camouflage at times. And thermoregulation, I think, can play a part, but often birds have wonderful other ways in which they regulate their body temperature, like the penguins with the pink patch of skin above the eye. What I didn't know, which I found really, really cool, is carotenoids, which is the pigment for color in a lot of birds, is not something that birds can create because it needs to undergo photosynthesis. So birds get a lot of their colors, like birds like flamingos and other birds get a lot of their color from the plants and the fungi and the things that they eat. So I knew that was true of flamingos, but I didn't realize with other birds that a lot of the color actually comes from what the birds are consuming. So I thought that was very cool. And apparently with their preen glands, so something like a flamingo, if they have that particular color already in the feather, that color will sometimes be in the preen gland, and so they can actually preen themselves to be a darker version of that color. So it's like adding makeup to their feathers to make them more attractive. So I thought that was extremely interesting. But Byron is going to be talking about feather iridescence and I think a little bit more about feathers and color in the coming days, because he is with you tomorrow and Friday. And I will be back with you on Saturday. So also very excited to see how Byron explains this. And I do want to thank you for saying that my answer didn't account for everything. And if ever you do feel that I haven't given enough of an answer, please let our directors know and we can investigate it some more.
The Masai Mara in Kenya, a remote landscape where wilderness reigns. Its inspirational beauty captivates the hearts of many around the world. This year, from August, WildEarth is leading a number of unique expeditions to follow Africa's greatest wildebeest migration here in the Masai Mara. And now, the remaining places have been discounted by 20%. Head over to our website to find out. We want to make it even easier for you to interact with our guides whilst watching WildEarth. When you see a QR code like this pop up on your screen, then open your phone camera, point it at the code, and you will be taken directly to our question page. Simple as that. Then you can let us know what you want to see, ask questions, and much more.
I've had it before where I've been walking and a waterbuck's jumped out of the grass. It's quite a frightening experience.
WildEarth, it's in your nature.
The penguins, the geese, the little egret, swift tern, heartless gull, kelp gull, wagtail, white-breasted cormorant, bank cormorant. That is nice. So Eagle and I are on 9 species of bird. Yes. So we're on 9 species and we are looking to up our numbers now. So I'm having a look out into the open ocean to see if there's anything exciting. See some penguins out at sea. Eagle's looking behind us. He's looking into the fynbos. And that's also something that I want to discuss in the next couple of days, is actually want to show you the biomes of South Africa. There was a while ago where we were looking at the differences between animals in different countries, and I looked up the biomes of Canada, because Arctic Circle is from Canada, and I couldn't believe how different the biomes are. So many forest biomes.
Is that a wagtail on that stick?
Actually, that is not a wagtail. That is something else. Oh, I think that's a shrike. We've not had a shrike. Sorry, I'm in the camera. So we have a shrike. And this is actually a new species. I'm not 100% sure what shrike it is. Let me actually get the bird book out. Well spotted, Eagle, a new species for Penguin Beach. Let me go and have a look in my bird book. And that's something I was thinking of doing, Penguin Beaches. I'll be honest and say that I don't use the reference section of the bird book because I didn't grow up using that section. But if you want to do it together and we can actually learn the reference section together, we can definitely do that on the show if you would like. So my parents were birders, so I always kind of learned the shape and then knew what to look for, which is not a very good ID system. Let's see. Here are our shrikes. I think...
I thought I saw a sacred artist.
Is our bird gone, Eagle?
No, it moved over there.
That's a very fantastic description. Thank you for that. Where exactly would over there be? Oh, yes, okay. Thank you. Let's have a good look at the shrike before we tell you what he is. It's a grey shrike. I think it might be a fiscal shrike. That's what my head was telling me before. Are you happy to call that a common fiscal shrike, Eagle? Do you want to look through my binoculars? Yes.
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't want to look through binoculars? Okay. So, Penguin Beaches, let us know if you're happy with this ID. Eagle is going to come to me, and we're looking at a common fiscal shrike, and apparently these guys really love to eat the chameleons, I'm told by one of my neighbors. So common fiscal shrike, it occurs all over South Africa. So if you have a look at the map is not everything, but it's sometimes good to see if they are found in the area. Birds can go all over, but green means that they are common in the area. And we've never had a fiscal shrike on Penguin Beach before, so that's very exciting. I'm going to add Cape Cormorants to our list because they're flocking now, so we can confirm those would be Cape Cormorants. So Eagle is going to flip over to them in just a moment.
So that's 10.
So on 10, we're going to get 11, So when you see flocking like that, the only species that flocks are our Cape cormorants. And we don't have our cattle egret or our grey heron here today. They don't seem to want to be counted. The pied kingfisher is also not around. Nor, oh, the terns are sitting on the rocks. Go have a close look, guys. That's very exciting. So we've got some swift terns sitting on the rock, and we don't often get to show you a close look. And these are juvenile swift terns. Oh, the one on the left is more of a juvenile, and the one on the right is an adult. So that's really lovely. You can get a nice, good look at the swift tern. And you can actually see the juvenile and the adult together, which is super special. Really, really nice to be able to show that to you. Oh, oyster catcher just landed.
That's 11, is that 12?
I think Penguin Beaches, if you can take anything from the show, is that neither Igor nor I can keep a good count. Is it 12? Okay. Are we still looking at the swift tern, or are you looking at the oyster catcher? Okay. So we're just going to give you a quick look at the oyster catcher, and then I'd love to go back to the swift terns, because we don't often get to see them. And we've got a beautiful juvenile. Don't know if that's his parent per se, but you can see he's likely just fledged. He's got so much black around the face. And even though he doesn't look very much like a swift tern, his squeaky noise that he's making sounds very much like a swift tern. So we're just going to head back to them quickly. I don't want to move closer because then I'm going to actually scare them, and then you won't be able to hear that squeak.
Yeah.
That little guy must have just fledged. He's so small. He's still got so much black on his face. That's amazing.
So we got African penguins, Egyptian geese, white-breasted cormorant, bank cormorant, Cape cormorant. We got the shrike.
Fiscal shrike.
Fiscal shrike. We got the swift terns. We have an oyster catcher. And
wagtail.
We've got a wagtail.
The little egret.
The little egret.
Hot-lip skull kelp gull.
Hot-lip skull kelp gull. That's 12.
We're on 12. Yeah, I think that's our count.
I think we're on 12.
Yeah. Penguin Beaches, I do wonder if you could hear that. Just it's a tiny squeaking, which is the call of the swift terns. So it is super windy today. I can hear them. Between the sound of the frogs, the ocean, and the people around, it can be quite tricky. And
it could be the shrike, or that could be the little cat.
Shrike, I guess. So I just wanted to have a look in the book actually and have a look at the juvenile swift terns, because that is such a young one. So as they get older, they lose a lot of that black coloration around the head. And the adult has its non-breeding color. So when they're in breeding season, their head is completely black. The top of the head is black. So that adult to the right looks like he is, he's just kind of got a bald spot on the front. So bald of black feather, not bald of any feather, which shows that that's a non-breeding adult at the moment. And the one next to him is definitely a baby because he's squeaking a lot. And you can see there, I'm showing Igor in the book. I think we'll also give you a look at the book so you can see. And here in the book it says it has a thin, vibrating, whistling, begging call, which is exactly what that baby is doing now. So there you can see the juvenile swift tern. And the adult that we're watching is non-breeding. It's the adult over there. The call is very diagnostic. They're a very noisy species of bird. But it's not often we actually get to look at a tern so nicely. So I think I want to go back to them.
I can't be more grateful and thankful to have won this competition, and I couldn't believe it when I won it. I'd like to learn more about nature. I'd like to know more, learn more about animals. I want to experience nature in nature, to see the big five when I get there and see how they look up close and personal.
I would like to see the animals and nature and being there and having the experience when I'm older to tell people that I see these things.
How many birds are we on, Eagle?
We're on 12 at the moment.
We're on 12 species down here at Penguin Beach.
Still get a crown cormorant. I would still like to get a familial chat, which I have not seen in a while.
Igor, there's a weird bird.
A weird bird? What kind of bird is that?
In the water. Just zoom in on these white birds in the water. They actually look like ducks. They don't look like so they were cormorants, but then there were birds that looked a little bit more like ducks, and now I don't see them. They are gone. Okay, so to the left of the penguin. So the left of the penguin, do you see that last kelp gull that's like a boy? So in between that other gull's about to land where it is. Go down on that. That's a bird that I'm not recognizing at all. Is that an Egyptian? But the colors. Is that an Egyptian goose? That's very far out to sea. I think it is an Egyptian goose. I think it's maybe my eyesight that's making that more black and white than what it is. The kelp gull is to the left, and then it's where the kelp line starts, just below that kelp line. It does look like a goose or a duck sitting on the water. There's cormorants behind it now, white-breasted. I think it is an Egyptian goose. I think it's just my eyesight that's taking the color out of it. Yes, so from the left, if you're going towards, so the very last part of the kelp line, go down where those cormorants are washing and bathing. You go down onto them there. Sorry, guys, we're just trying to be on the same page about the bird we're looking at. If it's an Egyptian goose, it's very strange to see one so far out to sea. I think it is. Oh, there's a petrel in the background. There is a. Yes, it's a. Okay, so follow the kelp line and go towards the last rock, because then it'll come up just behind. It is a white-chinned petrel. So I think he's already left us. So I think if we want to include pelagic birds on counts like this one, we actually have to go and do it at World's Edge, just because I saw a white-chinned petrel now, but it's so far. Okay, there's another pelagic seabird. Just watch on that line. So it's now going towards the very last rock. Now it's on the horizon. It's swooping down again. So we might just zoom in there, because it seems that we do have some pelagic seabirds passing. So see if we can get a view.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to bushwise field guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
So tomorrow looks like the wind is still okay. Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Looks like we've got some stormy weather coming in. So I think we're gonna watch some penguins on the seashore for our very last little bit on the show. And we've had some comments come in to bet how many birds we would have seen. So Lira is saying 9 species of bird. Kenan is saying 14. Lloydie, I say we'll count 11 different species. So what are we on, 12?
It depends. Do you want to count the other ones that we took glimpses on?
No, let's not count those.
You want to count the...
Kathy Lee says that we might see 15. And honey badger 23. I don't want to count the crown cormorants, but we didn't get a close enough look to diagnose it.
In that case, we're on 12.
So we are on 12. So the closest would be Lloydie. So Lloydie, congratulations, you've won the count. You got the closest, which is 11, followed by Kellen, which was, in fact, sorry, my math is so terrible, followed by Lira, which is 9, and then Kellen, which is 14. After that, it's Kathy Lee and honey badger in that order. And tonight on WildEarth, after our sunset safari, Liam is going to be doing an Ask Me Anything. So if you would like to ask Liam any questions, it is for explorers only, so you'd have to register to be able to join that Ask Me Anything. And it's going to be at 20 to 7 tonight, if you'd like to join in. I really love the concept of the Ask Me Anythings, because I think it's a great way to get to know your guides and get to hear their stories.
I recommend you ask Liam what his favorite socks are.
And Igor wants to know what Liam's favorite socks are. He wants you to ask for him. I think you'd like to buy Liam some socks. And he's just a bit shy. Oh, okay. Igor's putting Liam on the spot now about socks. I thought he might want to buy Liam some socks, but it seems that Igor has some ulterior motives that we'll have to find out during the AMA. And Chris has had reports of leopards in Prideland, so we're going to send you over to Chris in just a moment. Cedric is looking for leopards too. In fact, all the boys tonight are heading out in the hopes of seeing some spots. It looks like that's the plan. They all have a leopard in mind. I've had a lovely time with you today. Tomorrow Byron is going to be with you. He's going to answer whether or not we think there might be some eggs in the colony, some relays and some new tricks coming our way. He'll also be talking about feathers. And I hope that you have the most wonderful time with him over the next couple of days. On behalf of Igor and I, thank you so much for spending your afternoon down here at Penguin Beach. Igor will see you tomorrow. I will not. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone. See you again on Saturday.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.